Your favorite star is being slowly digested by a hunger that doesn't have a name. These celebrities aren't artists. They're high-priced sacrifices kept shiny just to hide the decay. Prince never trusted the industry. He knew the music business wasn't about songs. It was a dark, hungry machine. The night I watched him sit silently behind a row of glowing monitors, recording Diddy's private shadow dance from a hidden room beneath his own mansion, I realized how deep the rot went. What we saw that night changed everything. High-profile celebrities, disturbing rituals, and something far more sinister than fame. What you're about to hear is deeply disturbing. I'm going to expose the dark, demonic truth about the music industry. The night I watched him sit silently behind a row of glowing monitors, recording one of Diddy's private parties from a hidden room beneath his own mansion, I realized just how deep the secrets really went. This wasn't random. It wasn't a fluke. Prince, the video tech, and I, his sound guy, had been planning this for weeks. He called it the cleansing. He said it with that same soft voice he used in interviews, like it was poetry. But behind the velvet calm was something burning. He wasn't doing this for revenge. He was doing it for truth. For the people, he said. His voice was for the people. And this night was his final act of protest. The surveillance room was buried beneath a sealed floor in Paisley Park, lit only by the blue glow of 10 monitors, each locked onto hidden cameras spread across the mansion. Prince sat in the middle, legs crossed, drinking tea from a thin porcelain cup. He didn't blink much. The video guy, a quiet, wiry kid from out in Chanhassen, monitored footage and logs. I handled the sound feeds. The doorbell rang. The monitors flickered. They were here. The monitors flickered with shifting camera angles, ballrooms, lounges, the staircase. We watched it all from the surveillance bunker, 3 stories beneath Paisley Park. Prince sat unmoving. Mark adjusted camera feeds with twitchy fingers, logging timestamps and angles like muscle memory. I kept one eye on the waveforms for audio distortion, the other on the entrance feed. It was showtime. More black SUVs pulled up one after another, the kinds with hidden plates and drivers who don't speak. What surprised me wasn't who arrived. It was how carefully they moved. Not flashy, not loud. Every one of them looked like they were trying not to be seen. A former child star turned billion-dollar brand arrived first, her eyes hidden behind pink glasses, shoulders tense. She didn't smile. Then came a man famous for his on-screen confidence, the kind who could flip a suit into a symbol. He paused at the gate, looked over his shoulder, then walked inside alone. We saw them all. A daytime TV king with that unmistakable mustache, a family-friendly pop icon who hadn't even turned 18 yet, a mega producer who always wore dark sunglasses, even indoors, a world-famous preacher who was always talking about healing, but looked visibly uncomfortable the moment he stepped through the door. None of them were allowed security. That was protocol. Mark zoomed in on the sidecam again. We could see it clearly now. Each celebrity's team stopped at the door by a man in an earpiece, clipboard in hand. The exchange was polite, quiet, professional, but final. They were told simply, "You can't go in." Some bodyguards left without a fuss. Others protested quietly, then backed down. But a few 3, maybe 4 stayed parked down the street, still visible in the far lens of our driveway cam, watching, waiting. "Something's off," Mark muttered. I didn't respond. My stomach was tightening. Then one of the side monitors caught something new. Diddy. He was walking the halls alone, inspecting rooms, dragging his fingertips along the velvet walls like he was feeling for something. He stopped outside a narrow corridor we knew well, room 19. A small chamber with no windows, just a plush circular rug and an old ceiling fan. Diddy opened the door slowly. "Oh yeah," he muttered. "This one's perfect for it." Then he vanished inside. My eyes snapped to the sound panel. Dead. The audio feed for room 19 had gone dark. I felt Prince lean forward before I even said a word. "It's down," I whispered. "I've got no feed in that room." Prince gave a single nod like he already knew. "You'll have to reset it manually." The air in the room dropped a few degrees. Now. I slipped out the surveillance bunker with nothing but a comm link and a small black utility pouch strapped under my comm shirt. The hallways above were glowing dim purple. Prince's standard mood lighting. Soft jazz echoed faintly through the walls. I moved fast but careful, like I'd done it 100 times. Room 19 was down a lesser-used corridor, past an unmarked stairwell and a locked music room. I reached for the door, slightly ajar, and slipped inside. Just as I knelt to reset the receiver panel, hidden beneath a wall sconce, the door creaked open behind me. Footsteps, voices one high, animated, familiar. I dove into the supply closet. Through the crack in the door, I saw him, Diddy, holding a plastic bin filled with what looked like baby oil bottles of it. His face was lit with glee, giddy even. He was dancing, mumbling to himself. "Yeah, this is it. This is the spot," he whispered, bouncing in place. Time to get the real party started. He set the box down in the center of the rug and spun around like a child at recess, humming, practicing motions with his hands ritualistic, almost choreographed. It looked like he was prepping a giant salad, only the lettuce was a world-famous preacher. There was no music playing. I didn't breathe. The closet air grew warm, humid. My heart beat in my ears like it wanted out. After a few minutes, he left suddenly and without a word, leaving the door wide open behind him. I waited 10 seconds, then 20. Then I moved silent, quick, focused. I hit the reset. The green light on the receiver blinked twice. Audio feed restored. By the time I slipped back into the surveillance bunker, Prince didn't even look at me. He just said, "Good." Mark pointed at the screen. "They're going into that room. All of them." Prince sipped his tea and whispered, "Now watch what they do when they think no one's watching." They moved like shadows through the hallway, down the velvet-lined corridor into room 19, one after another, heads low, lips tight, eyes unreadable. There were no smiles now, no music, no clinking glasses or laughter from the main floor. This wasn't a party anymore. It was something else. Prince didn't speak. He just leaned forward slightly as if listening for something beyond the monitors, something only he could feel. On screen, Diddy entered first. He opened the door wide like he was welcoming guests to a private showing. Behind him trailed a dozen others, actors, moguls, musicians. You'd know every face. Their brands were built on family, faith, and luxury. But tonight, they looked like ghosts. The overhead cam showed them encircling the room. Then the preacher stepped forward. He moved to the center of the circle without a word and began to undress. First the blazer, then the shirt, carefully folded and placed on a velvet ottoman. He didn't look ashamed. He looked submitted. Someone handed Diddy a large bottle, thick, golden, and half-used. He popped the cap, poured the slick liquid into his hands, and began rubbing them together with childlike excitement. Then he approached the preacher, and with a strange, almost ceremonial precision began coating him. Others followed. Women in cocktail dresses, men in black suits, a pop star who just dropped a family-friendly album 3 months earlier. They each took turns rubbing oil across the preacher's back, chest, shoulders, scalp. It was methodical, like they were trying to polish a statue that was about to wake up and eat them. The preacher knelt. A low hum began to rise, not from the speakers, not from the room mics, but from the mouths of those in the circle chanting. At first, it was incoherent, a mix of moans, single syllables, breath patterns. Then it formed into something ancient, rhythmic, unified. Their voices overlapped like loops. The lighting dimmed. One of them reached up and pulled the cord on the chandelier. Now it was just candlelight. Shadows spread across the walls like stains. The oil glistened across the preacher's body, now slick and glimmering like glass. He rocked slightly on his knees, head bowed, arms limp. Then the voices grew louder. The hum turned into something guttural, like a growl from deep beneath the floorboards. My stomach twisted. I adjusted the EQ on the audio board, but there was nothing to fix. It wasn't distortion. It was coming from them or through them. The mood in the room changed. It wasn't a ritual anymore. It was a descent. A woman dropped her clutch. A man unbuckled his belt. One guest began spinning in place, eyes closed, mouthing something we couldn't hear, like he was in a trance. Someone else whispered, "Let it in." The preacher began to shake. His mouth opened in a silent scream. They kept chanting. They kept rubbing. The circle closed tighter. I turned away. Prince didn't. He stared with glassy eyes, as if every word they spoke was confirming something he already knew. I asked him, "What is this?" He said nothing. He didn't need to, because whatever this was, it wasn't for show. It wasn't performance. It was communion. And whatever they were summoning in that room, it had already arrived. At first, I thought it was feedback, a low vibration barely there, just beneath the chanting, beneath the murmurs and muffled gasps coming from room 19. I adjusted the levels, dialed out the top and bottom frequencies, soloed the ambient track. It was still there, but it wasn't distortion. It was intentional, a hum, deep, wet, like breath echoing through a drainage pipe, gutter-like and guttural, pulsing at irregular intervals, not mechanical, not human alive. I glanced at the monitor. The ritual had intensified. What was once slow and eerie was now frantic. The guests moved like dancers in a trance, shifting in rhythm to the humming that none of them seemed to be making, but all of them somehow obeyed. The preacher was now fully on the floor, face pressed into the rug, his body trembling violently. Others were dripping oil on him from above. Bottles clattered to the floor, half empty, hands shaking. In the surveillance room, the tension had turned physical. The video operator, Mark, had gone pale. His hand flew over his mouth. I leaned in, isolating the frequency again, feeding it through our secondary analyzer. That's when I saw it. The wave pattern didn't match any vocal spectrum. No vocal cords could produce it. No instrument, no mechanical hum. It existed in subharmonics, frequencies beneath frequencies, an impossible sound that made the hair on my arm stand on end. "Prince," I said quietly. "This isn't from them." He nodded slowly, eyes fixed on the screen. "I know." His voice was low, not afraid, but not calm either. It was something closer to reverence or grief. On the screen, one of the women had collapsed. She lay on her back, mouth wide open, eyes rolling back as another guest poured oil directly into her mouth, then leaned over and whispered something into her ear. The others moved around them like a current, chanting, groaning. At one point, the preacher, still covered in oil, rose to his knees, lifted his hands, and screamed, but there was no sound. "Turn it off," Mark begged. But Prince didn't move. He stared at the monitor with a face I'll never forget. I never saw Prince again. The last words he said to me, "I'm going to take them down," echoed in my head every day after I left Paisley Park. Years later, I woke up to the news alert. Prince found dead in an elevator. Fentanyl overdose. April 21st, 2016. On the streets. This was a soft kill.